First time.
Class. That wasn't stressful at all.
No.
You were a great help.
Excuse me. I'm fucking doing plenty here.
Why have you got a lot on? A lot of plates spinning? Or
I fucking hate you.
why?
I'm providing a space for this.
Fucking didn't know you did block work. Looks well.
Well, do you want to start doing it on your fucking time?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Are you in work right now?
Yes.
I don't smell any pizzas.
I do other things, like a podcast.
Well, maybe we should start doing it on the weekends then when we're both free.
I'm not free in the week.
Sunday morning? You out delivering on Sunday morning?
Yeah,
No, you're not.
I am.
Are you actually?
Yeah.
What time?
11.
That's hardly the morning.
So you think you could come out here? You think I'd get you out of your bed
I think I would be here before you.
at 7 in the morning
I would.
to set up and do this podcast and have it done and me back in Ards for 11?
No. But also it's not working the way we're doing it at the moment.
I mean, it's working.
Is it?
Just the gear's not working. It's none of the equipment.
You
works.
realise I have to stay late when we do this
Why?
and work late because that's just,
Should we just stop?
yeah. Thanks, folks.
Just quit the podcast. Sorry, guys.
Come here.
Mick's got a lot of plates spinning.
Stop fucking saying that. I swear to fuck.
Why does
wanted.
that get you so angry?
Because you say it in such a mocking way.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean?
But like, how do you feel like I'm mocking you?
Because sometimes I feel like I do have a lot on,
Okay.
and there is a lot of spinning plates, and you say it very faux sincerely.
You're picking up on that then?
You had to really lean into it for me to get it. I want to play you a voice message that I got
Oh no.
from my cousin Kelly,
Okay.
who I have never felt more related to until she was messaging me the other day, and I just said, "How's things anyway?" And this was her reply. I'm not going to play the whole thing, just the first bit.
Fair.
And tell me this doesn't sound like my cousin.
It's very funny. I've tried to reply to this a few times. Like, you know, like, how are you? And then I, start to write about work and like, I haven't worked in a month, and but sure, it'll be grand, and and then I go to be like, well, do you know, life's just weird, and you'd be thinking about what life is and walking around. And I was laughing yesterday. I could see the moon and during the day, and I was laughing at how funny everything is, and I don't know how to reply. I think I'm fine.
I think I'm fine.
Life's mad. Like, that's all I can say. Like, it's just, there's just forever stuff, and I'm constantly contemplating and constantly wondering and just fucking, questioning everything all the time, I think. But like, I'm fine.
Have you all been tested to make sure that spiraling isn't hereditary?
I've got that message.
Sounds like somebody put your voice through a vocoder of some sort to make you sound more female.
I got that message this morning when I was making my breakfast, and I fucking pissed myself. I was like, this rambling nonsense sounds exactly how I respond when people say, "How are you?"
Yeah.
Well, I was laughing at the moon, and I was just thinking how ridiculous everything is, and I'm also quite scared. How are you? How are you, Nathan?
I'm grand. Yeah, I'm all good. Just
We're over the stress of it now. We got it working. Look, it's going well.
It was so annoying.
It
I'm
was.
so annoyed.
You stressed?
I'm so annoyed. Yeah. I'm also annoyed that the audio seems to be drastically different coming into both our channels right now, and if we don't fix it now, it's going to be a pain in the hole.
Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, I feel like we should. Sorry. This is going to be a jump.
You get this look in your eye sometimes.
Like how?
It's like, I'm just going to be up to badness for an hour. You get this look, this glint in your eye, where it's usually when I see you approaching, I'm like, oh shit, he's going to come.
Oh.
And he's going to...
I'm not sitting in front
he's
of my
going to come
light.
at me.
Sorry.
And just absolutely make a fool of me for an hour here.
I don't do that. You do that.
How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all good. I'm very tired. I had a busy week. I drove to Cork and back for
The craic.
a day's trip. My brother Jesse's and his fiancée Alison are having a baby. A couple of weeks, and they were having a baby shower. And so we left. So I was working in Domino's the night before until 12. Got home at about. Oh no, your man let me away early. Actually, sorry, he let me away about 10:30. Then I had to clean the car real quick because it was full of shit. And then Margaret decided Margaret decided that we should leave Belfast at 4 a.m.
What was her reasoning?
to get there earlier.
Can't fault the logic.
Exactly. So
that's usually around where you're just bedding down for the night.
Yeah, it's like the middle of the day for me at about 4 a.m. normally. But so I got to sleep about 12:30, and then I woke up at 4. We ended up leaving about 5, which was actually Margaret's fault, in case anyone thinks it was mine. Margaret. But
do you want to elaborate, or does that remain in the bedroom?
No, it was fine. And then we got into like a bit of an argument because Margaret was like, "I can just drive if you want." But Margaret once said something to me that was so terrifying that I've never been comfortable with her driving to Cork, which was we were on a dual car. No, a disclaimer, she says she has changed her ways. Okay. But
and she's now decided that you actually do need your lights on when driving.
We were just driving somewhere like not far, like out of Belfast one day. Margaret was driving, and she stresses me out when she's driving. Like, did I ever tell you the story about when we were in Tampa and we had a rental car? We were both insured to drive, but I did all the driving except for one trip. Right.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll speed through. I've definitely told this before, but basically, it was one trip. I was visiting my uncle who lives in Tampa, in Florida, and we went out for a few pints. And so, literally, to get back to where we were staying in Orlando, you just had to literally like just drive out of a street through like just a bit of like normal town traffic. And then you were straight on to the highway. Mm-hmm. And then it was highway for like an hour and a half or something like that. So like easy driving, right? And it was like good weather, good visibility. I was like, you'll be fine. She was nervous about driving in America. And I was like, no, do me a favor. Because I know you're like at home. If somebody upsets you on the road, don't let it be known. Because these people have guns. And I just mean Americans in general is what I was referring to there. But Florida's like a deep red state. Like a lot of folks would have guns. So I was like...
I mean, Florida's pretty infamous for...
just being...
a mad...
An asylum.
Yeah.
But... So...
crocodiles driving cars with guns.
Yeah. Crocs with guns. But... Crocs with guns with Crocs on their feet. Sorry. Anyway, we were. She was driving for about 5 minutes, and we weren't even out of like the neighborhood, which, by the way, is a sketchy neighborhood. Like, it is like terrifying. It's not the kind of place now you'd find lads like you or me just sauntering about. Like, nobody walks anywhere in this neighborhood. Apparently, like it's just like not safe to do so.
Sorry, just as we said, no, you and Margaret as a comedy duo are brilliant. I would love to go on a trip with you where I'm
no, you wouldn't.
In the backseat of the car, saying nothing, but taking notes.
You'd be so upset.
I would come back with it with a full screenplay. It's a buddy movie. A road/buddy movie.
It's called Cunt Cop, Bad Cop. But so, yeah, we were literally like, to get out of my uncle's street, you had to like turn out of his driveway down to the end of the street. There was a stop sign, and then you turned. I don't. It was something like you turned left, and then there was like another junction. You were at another stop sign, and then. And I think what ended up happening was there was something like where like, you know, like when you're at a junction and you come to it from this side and the other cars come from the other side and you're both looking at each other and there's nothing coming from left or right and both of you kind of have to make a decision who's going to go first. Well, Margaret's not a kind of a I'll flash you ahead sort of a girl, you know. That's just not really what she does. So I think it was something like that where like she went to go and the other person went to go and just like and we're driving a Fiat 500, which was the best car they would give me because of my age at the time. And everyone else's car, like everyone else's wheels are bigger than the car we're in. Like it's fucking it's the smallest car I'd ever driven. Like it was fucking terrifying. No harm to anybody, but there's a lot of Fiat 500s about, but they're scary, unsafe feeling cars. I wouldn't recommend them, right? But that's right, I'm coming down hard and Fiat.
Nathan O'Regan destroys
Fiat 500. So anyway, there was a time once when we were driving from Belfast somewhere, right? Now, I don't know if she was joking, but Margaret went to overtake someone, indicated, went without looking. Now, nothing happened. There was no one coming. And I was like, hey, you should check your blind spots. You know, it's good practice, and sometimes there might be something there, so it's worth doing. You know, and she said, "I never check my blind spots." Now, would you be really up for someone who has said that to you, even though it was years ago, right?
Yeah.
Going, sure, you jump into the passenger seat and sleep. And I'll get us there safely.
Yeah. Blind spots be damned.
Be fine. So this was on my mind. I started driving. I felt fine until about Dublin. And then I was really struggling. I was just like, right, I'm going to have to tag you in here. And she fucking was grand. And she was like, you said that to me that time. And I've always checked my blind spots since. And I really have. But I was like, well, I know. But I was like, it's a habit thing. Like, I know if I'm in the car with her awake, she would be conscious of me noticing that she's not checking her blind spots. But I was like, when you go into autopilot mode, whenever I fall asleep, are you still going to check your blind spots? Like, that's what I was worried about. But anyway, it was grand. We got to Cork.
Check your blind spots.
Check your blind spots. The amount of people who don't do that is fucking frightening. Like, it's
now, Nathan, just for people who don't really know what you're talking about, what exactly is a blind spot? And if I were to be checking them, where would you recommend that I be looking?
the place you can't see you in your mirrors.
Sure, why would I look there? I can't see it.
For anybody who doesn't know, Mick, yeah, there's a bit in your mirrors where like you can see like the lane, obviously hundreds and hundreds of yards back next to you. But there's a bit like if someone is right beside your car.
That stuff's in the past, man.
If someone is right beside your car, you might not be able to see them. So you check your blind spots. But you just give it a quick, like, you know, one of those. But anyway, so we got there. I got like maybe like an hour or two sleep. And then, yeah, we got there. It was like straight into like what I would call hurriedly doing all the jobs we've been putting off for 10 years, just like around the house, you know, to get it ready for people coming over. Like we were like cleaning doors, all sorts of stuff.
That's what Orla ends up having to do when she goes back to Donegal. There's a list waiting for her.
Is that right? Yeah.
They give me something when I'm down. They give me something out of the road. I go out there and paint that shed. It's like, you only painted it last week. I know, but just
we couldn't be talking to you.
Stick your earphones on. Don't be bothering anybody.
Yeah.
If anybody asks you what you do, just say you don't know. Don't say you're a musician or a writer.
Yeah, it'll only upset people here. Yeah, but who looks after things? But yes, we got there. And so, to be fair to her just as well, we did get down so early because I didn't realise that it was starting at like 3, which I guess, you know, makes sense. It's a baby shower. It's not like a fucking hen do or something. But I definitely maybe conflated the two in my head.
You thought you were going down, you absolutely wrote
I thought it was going to be like, I don't know what.
Heavily pregnant.
I don't know what I thought it was, but then I was like, of course, yeah, it's a fucking whatever. And then I made a really funny faux pas where.
Yes, you just reminded me of something.
Funny faux pas.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Do you need to write it down?
No,
You're gonna
I've
be
got
okay?
it. Yeah.
One of Alison's, Jesse's fiance's friends. So, someone there. Like my brother's wife, Hyojin, is like afraid of dogs. So, my dad was like, I'll keep them in the fucking. There's like a log cabin where my studio used to be. He was like, I'll keep them in there. And then Jesse also was like, I'll hang out there too, thinking obviously this isn't like a men's sort of a thing. And at one point I went down to like get a beer or something, and one of Alison's mates was like, tell Jesse come down and stop being such a fucking coward. And I was like, I'll tell him. So I went up and was like, stop being such a coward.
Verbatim, good
Verbatim,
man.
you bastard. And then he was like, I'll be down a bit or whatever he said. And so then I came down and said, I just was just being an idiot, like, and was like, I was like, Jesse has said he won't come down. He was in school once and a girl was very rude to him, and ever since then he's been afraid of women in large numbers. This really is his worst nightmare. So sadly Jesse will not be joining us just yet until he gets over his fears. And thought no more of it, forgetting that my cousin Andrew's wife, there was so many names, Marge or Mags also is her name, was in school with Jesse. And so thought for ages that I had went up and asked Jesse to come down. He was like, no, that fucking bitch down there, which is not what happened.
You created something out of nothing.
I just was like, and so then she said it to me at the end and was like, was Jesse not coming down? And I was like, what? I completely forgot what I was after saying.
What the fuck are you on?
I was like,
are you drunk?
I was like, what? I can't fucking. And she's like so lovely and sweet and just such a nice girl. Like, and they just didn't really like know each other.
Did he come down eventually?
Oh yeah, he came.
Everybody was all awkward. Here
Yeah.
it comes. We're all very proud of you.
But I felt so bad because, like, I don't know, for however long it took for Jessie to come down, she must have thought that he wasn't coming down because she was there, which is not what happened at all. I felt so bad. I was like, no, that's not what happened. I got to meet my new niece, Isla, which was cool.
It's a lovely name.
It is a lovely name. And she's just like she's like a wee Buddha. She's tiny wee chubby cheeks on her. She's class.
Class. Smells class a bit as well.
Not a lot of chat out of her.
Nah.
And my niece Faye is after getting really big as well. She's fucking so funny and she's so cute, and it was class to see her actually as well. It was class to see all my family. I hadn't seen any of them in ages. I saw my brother Adam's new house, which is in a really nice place. Got a class view. Yeah, just class. Everyone's moving on, growing up, you know. It's all happening in the O'Regan household. Alison's mother, who is from Switzerland, made these like lemon curd like mini tarts, and fucking hell didn't I eat about 10 of them. They were unbelievable. I was like, where did you get the recipe for this? And she was saying
Switzerland.
The home of good confectionery. She said it was from her like home ec textbook from when she was in school, and I was like, that's better than anything. Like, if you went into like,
wait till you see the lunch I've prepared for the both of us today. It's going to blow your mind.
grass wraps.
No animals harmed in the making.
Well, I would expect
Well,
I would expect nothing less,
Yeah.
except all the squirrels and the
Yeah,
badgers and the rats and,
all
the
those,
rodents
the pests,
and the pests and the
probably
spiders
there's
and the
probably
beetles.
some human exploitation along the way.
Yeah, and the worms and the ants and all the biodiversity.
Yeah, I get your point. There's no truly vegan meat.
Might as well go with the tastiest. But yeah, so yeah, and then Jesse and Alison have got a place in town in Ireland, or in town in Cork, sorry, called Cove. And I went down and saw that place as well. It was really cool, nice spot.
Do you mean Queenstown?
No, I don't. I mean Cove.
I only referred it to its colonial name.
I love, like, you can tell that the naming of that was like, they were obviously, because like all the names of places in Ireland are just like, you know, like, so for anybody who doesn't know, or anybody who's not from Ireland, who also doesn't know, when you hear like, so there's like I'm from a town. Well, I'm from a town called Enniscarra, but where I went to school was called Ballincollig, which in Irish is Balia on Cullig, which is town of the Boar, I think it is. Or something.
You fucking bored me to death.
But that's so hectic, isn't it? That's so rude. Trying to tell this guy about my heritage. This is the Irish Language Act all over again. I thought you'd be on my side, Mick, to be honest, you big pig. But so like whenever you hear like Bally something, it's like Balia, which is town of or whatever. And like, so that's why like there's like, you know, on all the
fictional town of Ballybeg in all Brian Friel's, a lot of Brian Friel's stuff is,
which is probably Ballybeog, right?
Yeah.
Like Belfast is Bale Fairstay, which is mouth of the River Farset. So yeah, just stuff like that. But so obviously they got the Cove and we're like, spell it. And they were like, it's C-O for M or B, sorry, B-H. And they were like, Cobb? And they were like, no, it's Cove. Spell it again. We're just going to call this one Queenstown. Have you ever seen the sketch that Mitchell and Webb did about the Explorer? No. It's one of my favourite fucking sketches.
I probably have. It doesn't.
He like arrives. So like the two of them like arrive. David Mitchell is playing like, you know, like some colonial times like Explorer or whatever, and he arrives on the beach and he's like, this place is beautiful. And he's like, and the other guy's like, yeah, it is. It's really nice. He's like, kind of reminds me of South Wales. He's like, yeah, it is a bit. We should call it New South Wales. And he's like, you could call it anything in the world.
Come here, you reminded me of something that I wanted to read to you because I thought it was very up your street.
Do you have your book, by the way, as well?
I do, yeah. That's another thing. So just when you said about...
A lot of literary banter. How to make this week.
Just when you said about...
my faux pas.
Your faux pas. So this is from Reddit. And it was shared by a writer on Twitter called Seamus O'Reilly, who I would recommend following. He's a guy from Derry. He's a brilliant writer and he's fucking hilarious. He's the guy that kind of got fairly kind of infamous on Twitter by sharing the story of the time he accidentally took a load of cat and met the president of Ireland.
Yeah.
Do you know that
Yeah.
Which is fucking brilliant. He has a book coming out soon called Did You Hear Mommy Died that I'm planning on getting. But he shared this and it's one of those Today I Fucked Up from Reddit. So it's Today I fucked up by enraging the parents of my girlfriend by pretending not to know what a potato is. Okay. So it says, let me tell you, I've made a bad mistake this evening. My girlfriend, who let me tell you is only my second girlfriend of all time, said I am invited to dinner with her and her parents. I was very aghast, nervous and bashful to be invited to such a situation, but I knew it must be done. I met them nicely and it started off in a good way. The idea came to my mind that I should do a comic bit to make a good impression and become known to them as a person who is amusing.
To become known to them as a...
How
can I become known to someone as a person who's amusing?
I didn't actually... on the first read, I was like, I didn't realise how odd some of the phrasing was, but...
all the local comedians should change their bio to a person who is amusing.
Well, maybe not the local ones. Don't know.
Rude.
When I saw that baked potatoes were served, I got the idea that it would be very good if I pretended I did not know what potatoes was. That would be funny.
Sorry.
Let me tell you, this person's English, I think it's probably not their first language because they keep saying, well, let me tell you. Well, let me tell you, backfired on my face. I'll tell you how. Backfired on my face.
Wait, he shared it, but he didn't write this?
No,
Seamus O'Reilly.
Oh yeah, he shared it, but he didn't write it.
Sorry. I was like, I thought English was his first name.
So first, when the potato became on my plate, I acted very interesting. I showed an expression on my face. So
I acted very interesting. I love that.
It smacks of English as a second language. I showed an expression on my face so as to seem that I was confused, astounded, but in a restrained way, curious and interested. They did notice and seemed confused, but did not remark. So I asked, "This looks very interesting. What is this?" They stared at me and the mother said, "It's a baked potato." And I was saying, "Oh, interesting, a baked, what is it again?" And she was like, "A potato." And I was like, "A potato, oh, interesting. Never heard of a potato, looks pretty good." So the guys, his patter's next level, as you can tell.
Hunter merchant.
They didn't see I was clowning. but thought I really did not know what is a potato. This is getting really hard to read. I did not on first read. This didn't seem as like. So I knew
as Google translated.
Yeah, so I knew I would be shamed, humiliated, depressed, and disgusted if I admitted to making a bad joke. So what I did was to act as if it was not a joke, but I committed to the act of pretending I did not know what a potato was. They asked me, very incredulous, did I really not know what a potato is? That I'd never heard of a potato. I went with it and told them yes. I did not even hear of a potato. Not only had I never eaten a potato, I had never even heard the word potato. This went on for a bit.
Pretty impressive.
This went on for a bit, and my girlfriend was acting very confused and embarrassed by my fucked up antics. You can imagine the girlfriend saying that to him later. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you playing at? And let's see where I am. And the more insistent I was about not knowing what a potato is was when the parents started thinking I did know what a potato was. Next bit, one second.
Normally fairly safe to assume. I would have imagined. We got into this chat and work the other day. At what point does a wedge become a chip? And vice versa. And why do we call them chips? Why don't we just call them really long roast potatoes?
Really long, thin, diced roast potatoes, possibly, yeah. Let me tell you, I had to commit 100% at this point. When I would not admit to knowing what a potato was, which makes it sound like there's an interrogation happening at this stage.
I can imagine you'd be so annoyed. You'd be like,
yeah, you'd be like,
what?
The fact that, like, the fact that he's doubling down would really infuriate me. Like, it's like, enough's enough. When I would not admit to knowing what a potato was, the father especially began to get annoyed. At one point he said something like, enough is enough. You're fucking with us. Admit it. And I said, sir, before today, I never heard of a potato. I still don't know what a potato is other than some kind of food. I don't know what to tell you. He got very annoyed. I decided to take a bite of the potato. And when I did, I made a high-pitched noise and said, tastes very strange. That's when the father started yelling at me and the mother kept saying, what are you doing? And my girlfriend went to some other room. Finally, the father said I should get the fuck out of his house. Do you know what I love about that? Is the girlfriend's in a different room. So he's sitting with the man. I was like, I think it's time you need to just get the fuck out of my house. This charade has gone on.
You not potato knowing bastard.
And I said it was irrational to treat me like this just because I'd never heard of a potato before. He didn't take that kindly.
I feel like even at that point as well, like being like, okay, I'm only joking is worse.
Yeah, that's it.
It's gone
on
level.
Too long. I'm going to finish here.
Get the fuck out of my house.
Now in text messages, I've been telling my girlfriend I really don't know what a potato is. The only way I can get out of this is for them to buy that I don't know what a potato is. I wish I never started, but I can't go back. I think she'll break up with me anyway.
That's so fucking funny. Oh man. I did something similar in work the other day where, so there's a new guy. Well, he's not new. I've met him before, but he used to work in another store. But now, because someone has left where I work, he has been like moved over there. So he's quite young, like, but he's very, very, very easily wound up, which, you know,
for you, being in your company,
it's
speaking from personal experience.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm very easily wound up.
You are.
No, I'm not. I'm fucking not.
Are you not?
I don't think I am, but I'll make an exception for you who has become something of an expert at it, especially recently since we're back in each other's company. I feel like you have been honing your skills for the last year, just building up, replenishing all your stocks, and wee niggly things just to be poking at me the whole fucking time, especially when I'm trying to work.
But
do you deny the charges?
Anyway, so no comment. I plead the fifth. It's not a thing in America. So there has been some other new. So sorry. This guy is a shift runner. So like he's been working for Domino's for years and he knows what he's doing. You know, he works very hard. He's clearly a very hard worker. But he's just so easily wound up, and it really fills me with joy, which is probably bullying. but But you know, he tries to give as good as he gets.
I find when you are bullying someone, a good get out of jail free card is just at the end of it say, "Fuck's sake, I'm only messing."
Yes, of course. Yeah. No, that really always helps to really smooth things over. But yeah, like he likes to shell it out. But like when it comes back at him, he gets really annoyed. Like, which are my favorite people to try and wind up, because I feel like I just really enjoy, like, and I have no problem taking it back either.
That's true.
Which is
really great on me, because I have no inclination to give it back.
Yeah. But anyway, so there's been some other like younger new people starting just like in store or whatever, and they're all like learning the ropes and whatever. And like the other day, so they sell nachos, and on the nachos there's like so it's just like Doritos essentially. And like it's like a salsa sort of a thing goes on top of it, and then cheese, right? That's it, and it comes with like a dip. And the other day, like I was waiting on an order coming out of the oven, and the last thing I was waiting for was nachos. And when I saw them come out of the oven, whichever one of the new ones had put them through the oven didn't put anything on them. And like they came out like completely black. They were just like burnt, like, because there was nothing to like take the heat. So like, and I just, you know, people make mistakes, but like, at what point of your entire life, of which I'm sure in your 16 years you would have eaten a bag of crisps, have you ever thought, I might stick these through the oven? Like, whatever even about if somebody had ordered...
I might run a tap over these, just, soggy crisps.
Yeah. It's just like, what are you thinking? Like, but like, so like, whatever about like, if somebody had asked for like no cheese and it was just sauce, it would still be weird, I think. But like, I could get my head around that. But if somebody had ordered like, can I get a portion of nachos with no sauce or cheese? You would just hand them to them. Like, you would know. Like, so just the fact that somebody was like, well, that's what I think it means, so I guess, and everything goes in the oven, so I guess that's where they go.
That's the workflow.
And they came out, and it was really funny, and it was grand, and the person, whoever it was just like, oh right, okay, of course, and that was the end of it, and it was really funny. And so then the other day we were out the back, there's like a kind of a back entrance, and sometimes before people clock on or whenever they're finished their shift, they'll be out the back vaping and smoking, and it's like the kind of staff area, all that kind of whatever. And so my mate Jo was just after clocking off, and she was out the back, and she was just waiting on her bus, and she was killing it, and I hadn't been clocked in yet, so I was like, I'll go out and wait as well. And so this fella was standing, and somehow like the topic of like some of the mistakes that the in-stores have been making came up or whatever. And then I don't know how, but somehow the French for chicken came up, right? I can't even remember now how we got there, but it was just like somebody made a joke about like the French version of something, and then this guy goes, le poulet or something, I think is the French for chicken. Something like that. I didn't do French. Anyway.
I didn't, I still couldn't tell you.
I, with a completely straight face, was like, that's not the French for chicken. And he was like, it is. I was like, it's le chicken. And he was like, what? I was like, it's le chicken. He was like, it's not le chicken. And I was like, it's definitely le chicken. What are you, like, you sound crazy right now? And he was just like, you sound crazy. And I was like, ask anybody. I was like, what are you talking about? Everyone knows that. Go to France. If you go into France and say fucking, what did you say? And he was like, what? I can't even remember. I was like, and he was like, he's like, I studied French for 3 years. I was like, well, you may get your fucking money back because you can't even say chicken. I was like, this fucking guy is ridiculous. And he was like, and he was getting like, what? And I was like, I was just being like really sincere. But I was like, don't be fucking ridiculous, man. It's le chicken. Everybody fucking knows it's le chicken. And then I stormed off inside, just laughing. I was like, he's really annoyed, right? So then I went.
You got to get the day in somehow, I guess.
You know what I mean? You do. Like, there was nothing else to be at. And so he's finished. He was meant to have left. I went back out the front and started like putting stickers on boxes or something to put up on the hot rack. And he comes barging back through the store with his phone and he's like, "See!" And there's like people around and everything, like, and he's just like, "I told you it was whatever." I should probably look up just for the sake of this.
I think you're right though. It sounds close to poultry. Which
it's like, let's say it's le fucking
poultry.
Let's say it's le poultry. Right? He was like, "See, it's le poultry," and I was just like, uh-huh. And he was like, "You said it was le chicken. It's not le chicken. It's le poultry or poulet. I think it's poulet." He was like, "It's le poulet," and I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "Right, okay." And then he went back off.
Puff on his inhaler.
He went back down the back, and so then I went back out and was just like, I was like, "Man, just want to clear something up here." I was like, I obviously knew that the French for chicken wasn't le chicken, and I feel like you really bit there. I was like, when I was clearly messing, and might just be a wee lesson for next time. If I'm saying something really ridiculous, I might just be being a bit silly, And he was like, "I knew you were joking." He's like, "That's just what I'm like. I have to be right." And I was like, "But I never was really disagreeing with it. It was just a bit of crack, And I was like, "The school where you learned French for 3 years, there was no crack, no."
You're such a fucking.
And he goes.
You're such an insufferable cunt at times.
So he goes, "No, everyone in my school was a fucking idiot." And I was like, "Oh." And I goes, "Well, that must be how you got in then." And stormed off again.
Did you just take the rest of the night off after that? Gonna go home and put the feet up and run a bath. That couldn't have been happier with how that went.
And everybody else, there was other people there, like, and they all know, like, they've been there longer and know that I was just being a dickhead. Like the other day, there was a new guy on the oven, and I was waiting for something, and then I was like, "Is there a garlic bread coming?" And they looked, and there was nothing coming. And I just was like, "God, like just being really over the top about it." And this new guy was just like, "Is he all right?" And they were like, "Yeah."
He just really loves pizzas.
He loves efficiency and good customer service. But yeah, I mean, otherwise you're just standing there like fucking. It blows me away. The only people that'll just like stand there when they like drivers mostly, like obviously that we don't obviously have to make the pizzas, so you are waiting a lot. But just like standing and like on your phone, or like just fucking
chat to me,
have a bit of crack. Like, Jesus, we're here. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah. Anyway, sorry, it was very fun. It was good crack.
You bully. You're a bully.
I probably am. Yeah.
Nah, you're not.
No, I am.
You get away with it, I think. I haven't decided yet, and neither has my counsellor. Come here, I'm reading this fucking book.
Oh yes. So what's the book?
It's called Meet Me in the Bathroom by Lizzie Goodman, Rebirth of Rock and Roll in New York City, 2001 to 2011. So it's Ryan McGroarty's favourite book, I'm aware, I think so. Loads of people have read it. It's fucking incredible, but it's all done like interviews of people.
I feel like loads of people have read it is like a strange way to tell someone to get a book. Loads of other people have read it. Like,
what I'm saying is, it's a very famous. It's a very famous book. Okay. It was a really, it's just class. But it's if you're into like that. If you're into that kind of resurgence of music coming out of New York in the early 2000s, it's all interviews with like just everybody you can think of who would have been part of that scene. A lot of it is to do with LCD Sound System, The Strokes and Interpol and Yeahs and stuff like that. But I was reading...
Interpol demand. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, why did the European police have to do this?
So I was last night I was reading this bit and I started laughing because it reminded me of something that we were chatting about last week or the week, whatever we were doing this last. We were talking about being in the studio or mixing or something, and I can't remember who we were talking about. But you said they're the type of cunt who probably asked for things to sound bigger in the mix, which I thought was really funny because that's something I would do.
Yeah.
'Cause I have complete lack of technology. They're like, yeah, can we make the drums bigger? And you seemed like that really pissed you off there. Dylan. So this like
me and everyone else behind your back, everyone listening.
As I say, it's all interviews and extracts, and they're all just put together, like,
Yeah.
and they kind of form the context of the chapter.
And so
and
it's mostly like folks you'd have heard of. Then.
yeah. So this is between Julian Casablancas, Albert Hammond Jr., and a guy called Ryan Gentles, who I think might have been their manager. But they're talking about their strokes in the studio recording Is This It, their first album. And they're chatting about, the engineer was Gordon Raphael, and Julian Casablanca says, Gordon had just the right ingredients for us. We tried to do the same songs with other people and they sounded totally stale. Gordon is the king of understanding abstract information. You'd get further by saying, could you make it sound more yellow than you could by saying, take out the bottom end or something? He'd get it. So I imagine that would set off, that would grate you. Well, Nathan.
I'd get really annoyed.
Well,
Yeah. This is why I can't record people.
is it really, like, have you no patience to bridge that knowledge gap? Or are you incapable of abstract thought?
That feels like a loaded gun. Do you know what it is? I learned that, like, I don't have patience for people to figure things out. Like, so, like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, the first time I was ever in a studio and somebody that I was working with suggested to me of, like, making a chord change, for instance. So, like, I remember I was like 16, maybe. Oh yeah, I was about 16, and I was over working in London with the guy that I used to work with, and just one of my tunes. It was like, basically, it was like, completely looking back now, I completely understand that it was like the same chords essentially over and over and over again. And then just for the hook at the end of the chorus, he was like, why don't we change it to like this chord instead? And it just like took me the whole day to come round to even allowing it to be tried. You know what I mean? And like, I was just like, I remember just being like, I don't know, man, that'll change the whole thing. Like, and he's like, like, rightly so, he was going like, it really won't. Yeah. It doesn't matter. And he was probably diplomatically trying to be like, it's really boring if it doesn't change ever. Yeah. So, but it took me like the whole, and then I remember like we recorded it. He eventually convinced me. He was like, look, he's like, I have the other version saved. If we don't like it, we can always come back. It's totally fine. And I was like, fine, okay, geez. And I was like, it was like, I was anxious about it. And then I remember like listening back to it and being like, yeah, it's obviously better. It's definitely better. But I wasted a whole day being convinced of it because somebody was trying to be too nice to me. Essentially, we lost an entire day of each other's lives because
that's why he really fucked up trying to spare the feelings of a 16-year-old.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like obviously he was doing the right thing, but like, and like I just like, not that has ever really come up an awful lot now. To be fair to anybody that I've ever recorded, like, but like I just have like. Not that I kind of want to be like, I just want to do what I want to do and I don't care what they want. It's not that. It's just like, I have like a nervousness about people like not wanting to actually try things or being precious, or especially people who like haven't maybe been in a studio a lot, or especially haven't been in a studio like with someone else a lot. Just kind of makes me kind of go like, I don't know if I could be fucked with all that. I genuinely like, you know, with not even joking, like I don't think I have the right personality for it. Yeah.
Well, let me continue. This is from Ryan Gentles, which is a fucking great name. Ryan Gentles. I love that. I wish I'd have made that name up. There's nothing that makes me laugh more than a good name.
Yeah, I noticed that
Arthur Matthews from Father Ted and Toast of London. He's the king of good names.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed in your Belfast Live thing the other day, Kevin Great.
Yeah, he's the new Gary Branch. In my head, that character has now moved out of Gary Branch's shed and he now lives next door to this violent drunk called Kevin Great. Who's recently buried his sister Emily Great. I've all this in my head, like, but only snippets of it come out on Facebook. Anyway, this is Ryan Gentles. Gordon is such a great interpreter of musicians. Julian won't say, that hi-hat is too trebly, turn the bass up or the treble down. He'll say, I need the hi-hat to sound like the rich guy who hangs out at the party and doesn't talk to girls, waits for them to come and talk to him. And Gordon is like, okay. That's almost verbatim how I've heard him describe a hi-hat sound. It's too much like the way a sleeping bum smells on a Friday night when he's had too much booze. I don't want it to smell like that guy. Gussy it up and shave him. That's the snare drum sound I want. He talks analogies like that and Gordon understands them.
Do you know what's annoying about that? What band was this again?
It's the Strokes.
Like, he knows how to say it properly.
This is them recording their first album.
All right, well, fair enough. But even still, is that like the best way you can possibly think to come up with that? You couldn't just play me an example of what you mean. Like
it's too much like the way a sleeping bum smells on a Friday night.
Yeah,
I was like, why not wet? Like, is there a difference?
That snare drum sounds like piss smells.
That really cracked me up when I was reading that. I was like, I could just imagine fucking Nathan's face if I said that to him. It's like, Nathan, could you mind making that snare drum sound less like the smell of a Friday night bum? Can you gussy it up and shave it a bit?
I can understand. I've I've heard things like phrases or turns of phrase like maybe make it a bit hairier or like kind of give it a bit more grit or whatever, like that. I guess technically on a sound level like don't make sense or whatever, but like I feel like some of those instantly without any context like make sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in somebody told me to like make something sound a bit hairier, I'd be like, oh yeah, they mean like a bit of saturation or something like that, or like a bit of distortion or something, you know what I mean? Whereas like make it sound yellow. Like, what do you do with that?
The lesson I'm learning here
I don't know who's actually the hero there. Is it like him for having such a kind of a weird way of saying it that it ended up sounding a certain way? Or is the producer just on like meth or something and they were like, yellow, I get it. Yeah.
I think it's probably on acid if it's anything. Like,
yellow,
I
absolutely.
can make that sound look like that colour.
Imagine you just got the paintbrush out and just painted the screen.
Good enough for you, Jules? It's probably a bit of both. Like, I think from reading this book, your man Julian Casablanca seems like is a savant the right kind of word? I don't know.
Yes, like an exceptionally unique person.
But maybe sometimes finds it difficult to communicate, and then it's finding somebody who can understand what you're trying to say, process that abstraction into.
Yeah.
I mean, I fucking so limited in the studio of how, like, you know, I fail to describe most things.
I think
like,
it's just
what is this again? It's a tablet.
It's just a matter of repetition, like anything. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like just being around other people doing it all the time and just asking questions and just being inquisitive. I think more than anything, it's probably just. I mean, the most important thing is just that you know you can speak each other's language. You know what I mean? Like, when you're working with someone, like, it probably doesn't necessarily matter if you know, the important thing there is that when he said, can you make it sound more yellow, he knew what he meant. You know what I mean? But if that was like a shorthand that was developed throughout the course of that session, I wouldn't just walk into like a session with Ryan, say, you know, or something and just be like, needs to sound more yellow, and he's like, what? And I'm like, this fucking guy. You know what I mean?
Yellow!
You'll never work in this town again. You know what I mean? Just like at some point like that, it becomes your fault for just being like. But I feel like that's the sort of slippery slope behaviour that leads to like certain very, very famous people who can't have folks around them just be like, wise up. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's a slippery slope to like.
Yeah. That's the charming side of the spectrum.
Yeah,
like,
that's the beginning of it.
What does he mean? He's great. Look at his denim jacket. Yeah. Fucking brilliant.
I wonder if the metaphors just got darker and darker and darker. I want it to sound more like a grieving mother. You mean like bit of a bump at 60k? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, just like, I wonder, depending on his mood, if the fucking, I want it to sound like the way you feel when you've bitten into the wrong flavour lollipop.
Or he's just doing it real passive aggressive.
Like, he means a tape delay. That's what he means.
He gets real passive aggressive. Like, I want it to sound like you're a fucking wanker. Can you do that? Can you make it sound like you're a fucking wanker? And the guy's like, is he?
He means a plate reverb. But yeah. There's
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, there's definitely like shorthand that you would develop, I find, like sometimes with like, whether it be like just like, you know, you might have watched like a YouTube video or something like that, and somebody might have said something really funny, and then that becomes like a thing you say throughout the session or whatever, and it's like an inside joke or whatever. But like, I wouldn't go to the next session and be like, fucking put a bit of stompy bompy on that, will you? And he's just like, what? And you're like, Are we going to have to learn everything from start? Is this your... I remember my first session, dickhead. Do you know what I mean? Make the flim flam more Scooby-Doo. You know what I mean? You're just like... All right, okay, at some point.
The first time I was ever in a studio, I think I was about 14 or 15. Actually, it's probably even a wee bit older. And the guy the four of us were in there. It was our first time ever.
What were they doing there? Sorry.
What's it?
There's a band called The Four of Us. Imagine.
It was all right. I just... when you're fucking young band, wee gang, you're so excited. This is the whole world.
Of course,
and the guy just had his back to us the entire time and barely spoke.
Yeah.
And it was just like...
It kind of sucks the crack out of it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I was really lucky, actually. Like my very first recording experience was like that one that I did with my uncle, like for a school thing when I was like 11. But the first time I went in with like my band, we were like 14, 15 or something, and did up in, I think it was Kerry, with a guy called Tony O'Flaherty, and he was a really nice fella, and he was really encouraging, and he was really good at his job too. Like he was like, even still, he puts out and puts his name to stuff that is great. Like he's really good, and he was like in hindsight, like he was probably much more understanding and nicer to us than he probably needed to have been.
He's like, guys, I'm gonna just give you a 10 count. To start.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. Yeah, this
guy very deep cut there.
This guy speaks our language. Yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, you might need to come back through the 152 episodes to come back through. But yeah, I recorded a lot of bands, like first things whenever I was recording folks, but like they would have been obviously closer to my age. I actually was listening to a few of them, like just randomly the other day. I was just like digging up through like hard drives and stuff, just trying to just clear up a few things, and it really makes me laugh, like listening to stuff that I did. Just like there was a guy that like I recorded like a bunch of stuff for, and he asked for like the files recently, which was like, I mean, I must have recorded some of that like 10 years ago. Like I wouldn't be dying for anyone to hear stuff I recorded 10 months ago. You know what I mean? Like, and then I was digging it up, and I was just like, I was saying to him, I was like, are you sure you want this? Like, there's not a lot of what I did I would be fucking, and I'm glad I was only charging like 40 quid a track or something for folks at the time, but like I hadn't a clue what I was doing. You know what I mean? I was only learning anything I knew about it from like, I'd go over to England for a week and fucking work with your man and watch him and just be like, oh cool, that's interesting. Oh, why are you doing that? All right, cool. And then just try and badly execute it. Like
learn by doing, isn't it?
Yeah. There was some stuff that was like whatever, but I knew it's amazing, like opening up like an old session for like, you know, something that was done, and like looking at it and just being like, what the fuck was I doing? Like just like looking at your mix window or whatever and just being like if somebody handed me this now, like to finish or whatever, I'd be like, what the fuck were you doing? like I just like I didn't know what a compressor was for at all. Like fuck this guy, compressor. That's how you make things blue.
That's when you
squeeze it.
You get the track and you just go.
But I'm not going to get into what a compressor does. But
yeah, we don't need to cover that.
Yeah, everyone knows.
Everyone knows that. You'd have to be stupid. You'd have to be fucking stupid to get this far in your life as a 34-year-old musician. And
yeah, you'd be mad. Like
also mastering. And mixing.
I mean,
also, what is a guitar?
I don't actually still get what mastering is, to be honest. I know roughly what it is. But
someone said to me,
I've seen people do it.
Someone said to me, it's like putting an Instagram filter on the song.
It kind of is. It's actually a really good.
Every time I relay that back to people who know more than I do, they're like, kind of.
It's a good way of explaining it to someone who has no idea about anything. Like, yeah, it's not a bad way to.
This guy.
But yeah, it is mad. Like you. I don't mean this to sound like a jab hitter, but like you don't seem to have as much of a curiosity about that sort of stuff, do you?
No, I don't, and it's I kind of regret.
It's okay to not.
I know
what I mean?
But I feel like I could probably do more myself if I had that curiosity. And it's I struggle to focus a lot of the times, and then usually if I'm sitting down to record something, it's to get the
idea out.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't sound as long as I can get a recording of it down, I can then, I'm always like, well, if I can show this and bring this to somebody and kind of collaborate on it, I'd make it better than I would be able to make it. And also, I'm doing it with someone else whereas the other ways kind of feels like a bit more lonely and isolating.
Yeah.
Which is something I've actually been struggling with the last year and a half. Writing has been really difficult. Because of just like for the essentially the entire of 2020, I was in the spare room.
Yeah. And it was, in fairness, a tiny room. Like,
yeah, and I was trying to write.
And it's also actively being used as a spare room, as well, wasn't it? Like, yeah.
And actually, that Bo Burnham, I don't know if we talked about it, but I do want to talk about it. That Bo Burnham special, Inside, I've had it on repeat because it, like, a lot of it captured like the kind of struggles of last year in the songs. Everybody's shouting on about it, but it really is worth checking out.
Yeah.
But there's a song just called I think it's called Look Who's Inside Again, and it's just a wee piano song of him just trying to be funny and stuck in a room. There's nothing much more to say about it. Trying to be funny and stuck in a room. I can't remember the next line.
Really left an impression though.
But it's just that, like, because I was writing scripts as well, or trying to write music, and I was just sitting there staring at a wall.
Did you ever accidentally realise that some of your dialogue was rhyming and stuff? Or
No, sadly.
No, I have to go back and check.
Now I'm going to be thinking about that all night. Is it any wonder nobody's getting back to me?
Everyone is speaking in sonnets.
Yeah. But like being that kind of isolated and having no person to feed off or get feedback from, I find, because I grew up, like, my whole thing was growing up in a band and with my mates, and then I was like, right, it kind of didn't go anywhere. I'm just going to continue to do this because I really want to do it. And I got up until last year, I kind of still had a group of people around me, but then last year I was like, right, space to do it all. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to write it. I'm going to do it by, and I was like,
yeah.
It's just me. It's just me in this room now.
I there's pros and cons to that though, man. You know, and I think like the more that you learn about like your DAW, it's called is the shorthand, but it's your anybody who's not in the loop. It's your digital audio workstation. So Logic or Pro Tools or whatever you use. Like, I feel like the more you learn about it though, like the less isolated you feel because, like.
Well, that special again, that made me want to kind of learn more. I was like, he's achieved amazing things.
Yeah.
Really, and fucking, I love the music in it. I really genuinely love the music in it. And I was like,
you can do so much on your own.
I was like, you can do so much on your own. And now it's like, I've left it this late, but I'm going to have to start just fucking bucking up. But then it's time as well. As you know, Nathan.
I
don't know if you've seen these plates. Spinning.
He's bringing it back. I feel like the one thing that I have picked up from like trying to learn bits and pieces as I go or whatever is just like it's kind of like, so like I started using Logic, and then if I go to Pro Tools now and like ever I'm in a situation where I need to be able to use Pro Tools, which isn't very often anymore, but like years ago, whenever I was working up in the studio up in the hills there, it was on Pro Tools after me using Logic for years, and I found like jumping over to Pro Tools was easy because I knew like what I needed to be able to do. But like starting like anything like that is like difficult to, it's just a rabbit hole. Like there's like, you're never done learning it or whatever, but there's basics like and they're not terribly hard to wrap your head around, but it's just a matter of like using your ears and just like understanding why to do things rather than just, oh, I saw someone do that, so then I guess I do that. You know what I mean? Because like, but like, yeah, I mean, like I could sit with you for like an hour and really teach you like enough that would probably be enough for you to be fucking carrying on with for like the next month or two, just to like nail or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just all about repetition. But like I find, because I spent so much time trying to do things like demos, because I found like whenever I was working over in England years ago that like, you know, the quality of what that guy was doing to my music, and sadly in reflection the music itself wasn't of the same quality, but what he,
you were 16, I think you're
I know, but what a horrendous waste of time, but you know, I just felt the pressure to like send something that sounded good over. So like I would try to do too much essentially to like stuff. Just like using like samples and stuff. I'd like to try and like build it up, even though I knew like he was never going to turn around and be like, we're just going to mix that and it's out, you know what I mean? It was like that was never going to happen. But and it's even the same now, like working with Gareth, like where like Gareth will send me something, be like, oh, I just did that there tonight, it just took me a few hours, and it'd be like, that's nearly done, like it sounds fucking incredible. So like I find like having that kind of like dynamic, or the same with Keeney, like for years, like anytime I've ever worked with him, where like I feel, even though I know that like it's going to be stripped back and we're going to start again whenever we do start again, it's kind of like being able to shape out what you want out of it, even badly, but to some sort of a shape, kind of like makes the next steps easier.
Yeah, it's like sketching it before you paint it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah, like so, like, and then like like whenever I end up like fucking. Like there was a couple of the demos and stuff that I sent you over lockdown, whatever, that like were there was like fake drums and stuff on it, but it was just like you can do an awful lot with like samples of drums and stuff if you just think about like the hardness of hits and all that, and make it feel human. And
let's go back to the Sexy Camel. You blasted that one out, and were you nearly late for a wedding because you zoned in on it? You were like, you had an idea. It was like, I'm doing this.
I
and
think
you
I might have done. Yeah,
buried yourself in it to get it done.
Yeah, but like,
check out Sexy Camel.
There's a deep cut as well. I was laughing the other day, by the way, whenever I was trying to put the YouTube channel together, and I was digging through my folder of like all the like the banners and stuff like that Thomas sent us that time, and I clicked on one and there was like the camel hanging over my shoulder, and for a minute I was like, why the fuck is there a camel on my shoulder? And I was like, oh yeah,
oh, it's got lipstick on.
That was the whole thing. But yeah, you should get into it more. Like it's a kind of a, I feel like it's as much part of like a creative process as the writing itself as well. I tried the other day to like sit down and do a bit of writing, and like I have like 4 or 5 tunes that I have written like a first verse for now, that like, and I'm adamant that I want to finish them myself. Like I want to get to the other end, because I feel like there's things that I'm really passionate about, like things that I was writing about that like I don't feel like, I feel like it'll be better if it comes from me, but I can't. Like I was juggling around about 3 of them the other day, just going like, trying to write another bit of this and then going like, no, I'm not really getting anywhere with that, fuck it, I'll go back to that later. Just trying to be like writing for the day. So I was like jumping between like 3 tunes, which is, I know is kind of weird.
That's something I've been doing, and you know it's not like, you know, it's you're not never going to get anything.
Absolutely, yeah. But, and I was just like, I can't think of anything. Like my brain feels like soup. But you know, it's starting to feel like the world is kind of finally getting back to some fucking sense of normality or whatever, and I feel like completely unprepared for it.
Me too.
And I just like need to, not on a kind of a, like worried about going out and seeing people way, like I'm looking forward to all that, but yeah, I just feel like I want to be further along in what I had prepared for the last year and a half, but you know, I'm not going to beat myself up too much about that either, but yeah, it's a mad thought that that stuff is kind of getting back there. But then also there's friends of ours that are doing really good stuff the whole time, and I feel like it kind of buoys you a wee bit, doesn't it? You're kind of going like, no, it's cool. People are still listening to music and people are still consuming stuff, and
yeah, I just, as long as if I can make something that makes me happy, I'll be fine now. I don't care about anything else if I'm happy with it. Whereas beforehand, like the whole thing with that whole couple of years with the Ulcerans and the album, I was like trying to build the fucking,
yeah. But you did. It worked.
I did.
It worked though. Like that's the good thing though, is like I think like doing stuff for the reason that you're saying there as well is exactly a perfectly fine reason to do stuff. And I think what you were doing with the Ulcerans was also a perfectly acceptable way to do stuff. But I wouldn't like throw one away for the other. Just find a medium. Like it's still,
find a medium. Let them predict the future.
Exactly,
for you.
and then they'll tell you exactly what you should be doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
I predict.
Yeah. You
go viral with a cover of "Be My Little Baby." You're like, oh sweet, cool, TikTok then. But have you even started TikTok?
I won't. I'm too old. I don't want to.
What do you mean you're too old?
Yeah, I'm too old. The first app that I felt right, this has passed me by, and I was like Snapchat. I was like, I have no interest, and TikTok, I've no real interest.
I don't really have an interest, but I just see it as like a necessary thing.
But that's the thing. That's where it becomes like it's a necessity, like a promotional necessity. I'm like, that will not make me happy, so I'll find a way of doing my own thing that will make me happy.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's all about like where the people who listen to your music are. So I mean, if you don't think they're on TikTok, like I think like the main demographic for TikTok is like 15 to 25 or something, you know. But the only reason I'm really considering it is just because, you know, there's like, obviously it's a big thing at the minute or whatever, but it seems like the kind of place where covers are like doing really well for people, and it just feels like the kind of thing I could just fucking shit out.
You could
for a day and just fucking make like 30 videos and just have a load of things ready to go. It'd be a great excuse to use that. I
think that's a great idea.
And it's like exactly where that should live. You know what I mean? It's just there's nothing else really to do on TikTok unless I want to try get into like making funny videos, but like that feels like a whole other thing, you know what I mean? And maybe that'll come with like if it maybe did well or whatever. Do you know Ryan Mack that we've had on as a guest?
I do.
He has 1.2 million followers on TikTok. Isn't that mental? Imagine having 1.2 million followers and going, what do I say?
But why? But that's I just what does it mean in terms of like existing in reality? What does it actually?
It means bums and seats. It means better sales. It means loads of great things. It means selling t-shirts. It means having a career. It's class. And that's not to say that you need to have 1 million people. I'm just saying like.
What did I say to you earlier, Nathan, before we started? This is like, I'm at the stage where if I could fuck my phone into the river, I would. So that's all you need to know about my TikTok aspirations. Yeah, I don't need one more thing in that phone consuming my attention.
But I feel like you do really well at like there's nothing about what you're posting that says to me like, oh, this guy's trying really hard to like find a balance. You know what I mean? It's like you're not on like loads, but you're not like not on at all. So like from the outside, now, unless the answer is that you spend like 7 hours drafting the perfect tweet, then like maybe that's the problem. But just keep using it the way you've been using it. You seem to do well. You had fucking like what was it, like nearly 100 people fucking reacting to your comment on Belfast Live the other day. You know what I mean? It's just like cool. That's fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like and all the while it's like
that's not going to shift much tickets.
But you know what? But here's the flip side of that. Like maybe the next time you're putting a gig on or whatever, Belfast Live might fucking throw you a bone and give you a free bit of
I want them to let me write an article in that style.
They 100%, I guarantee.
I pitched it to one of the guys. He says, I'll pitch it to my editor. And then he blocked me and never... No, he didn't block me, but he never got back.
I could help.
Let's leave it there with a cliffhanger.
I could help. Yeah. Cliffhanger.
Thanks for everyone who's been watching.
Yeah.
And donating to the Patreon. Noticed a few doctors chipping in there with £1 or two. Fucking doctors.
Fucking doctors. Think they run the place.
Lazy, arrogant.
Can't live with them. Will absolutely die without them.
Thanks, folks. Bye, the audience.
We framed you poorly in this episode. Have a good week.
Oh, she changed it before we went.
I wasn't looking. I did it. I was like looking down the lens of the webcam as if I could see through it. I was like, I was like this. I was like, I can see Mick.
Oh God, we're
tech genius.